Hello gamers, welcome back, or in case you're new here, I'm NKZL. The launch date for the first Descendant has been set to the 2nd of July, roughly 3 weeks from now. With the release date in sight, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about what to expect and what has changed since the last year. During the latest test, they showcased the changes the game went through. However, this was not only a short test, but limited to 2 zones. And a lot less people tested it out compared to the previous test, so I thought it would be a good idea to go over all the changes for those that didn't have time or desire to go into another testing phase. I cannot stress this enough, the game is fundamentally the same. So if this was not a game for you previously, it probably won't be after these changes. However, they have addressed most, if not all, the feedback they received. The vast majority of these features are quality of life improvements, which in my opinion provide an overall much better experience, but I will also go over a few new additions that will come with the release of the game or shortly after. The first change that we should talk about is the user interface, as this will affect everyone. Every description in-game has been improved to offer more details and be easier to understand. This includes item tooltips, skill tooltips, and even rewards from activities. On top of this, they have added a library feature that will contain and keep track of all things in-game. Basically, all the information that you might require will be found in-game, and you will not need to use external resources. There have been some changes to the inventory as well, as it has been compacted so it is easier to visualize all your equipment and change it. With this, they also added a much requested feature of loadout, so with the press of one button, you can simply change between loadouts. Speaking of inventory, during the latest tests, the initial inventory space was insufficient, forcing people to manage their inventory every 10 or 20 minutes. The inventory space is something that increases with account level. However, they have acknowledged that the initial inventory space was way too small, and they have promised to increase it for the launch of the game. Hopefully, they will at least double it, as we want to shoot things and not worry about inventory management when we play games. Another much requested feature was a place where people can test their loadouts before heading into battle. This will be called Laboratory, and you can simply test your builds there against enemies of your choosing. As you start your first Descendant experience, the game still follows the same RPG route where you follow a main quest and explore open world areas. The feedback in the previous test was that these open world areas felt dead, and basically there was nothing to do in them unless a mission was started. Because they want to provide solid performance first, they ended up dividing these open world areas and adding open world content. They added 2 types of open world combat activities that are not related to missions. One of them features outposts of different sizes filled with enemies, and the other one is a collection activity where you kill enemies, collect void fragments, and summon an elite monster. As for non-combat activities, there are encrypted vaults, which are basically lockboxes that are hidden around the map. You can open these using keys dropped from mobs and completing a minigame. There are also records for the lore fanatics out there that want to learn more about the world of the game. I think one of the highlights of the open world zones is that they added difficulty levels. If interested, after clearing a region on the normal difficulty, you can replay it on a hard difficulty for better rewards. Personally, I think this is more than fine for a new game. Moving forward, I would like them to add more activities. Maybe just like Warframe, they could add fishing and mining. But what is there is enough for a newly released game. Overall, when it comes to the open world side of the game, they made the game feel alive and gave us reason to return to these areas after completing the main story, which is exactly what was asked for by the majority of people. This is all nice and good, but the live service game also needs endgame activities. In the test last year, the 2 activities available were various wave defense missions and void bosses. Now, they also have added dungeons to the game. Previously, the game had these mini dungeons as part of the story, but now they have refined the formula and supposedly this has been added as another endgame activity. I cannot comment yet on the quality of this content as we were not able to test them, but considering the overall game, they should at the very least be decent. I would not expect them to be as good as Destiny dungeons or anything like that, but who knows, maybe we will be pleasantly surprised. Another feature that has been added and should be mentioned is achievements and titles. Pretty self-explanatory. Complete certain tasks and obtain titles to show off your skill. This will range from easy to very hard ones to complete and will provide yet another layer of content for those that enjoy it. I should also mention that in the previous test phases we had 11 characters to test, but they have already given us a sneak peek at 3 more characters that will be coming soon, either at release or shortly after. The game also has ultimate versions of characters. In case you're not aware, ultimate version is a concept taken from Warframe where it is called Prime, and they are basically the same characters with slightly improved stats, but a bit harder to obtain. They have confirmed the next 3 ultimate characters. The game will start with Ultimate Lepik and Viessa, while Ajax, Bunny and Glay will follow. One major negative feedback during the last test was regarding the dice system, which was heavily RNG reliant. After the feedback, they promised to take out the RNG combination system. Personally, I didn't mind the RNG element. However, I minded the fact that dice are consumable, which in my opinion is a negative and will be a minor inconvenience. Another negative that we should talk about is the cash shop currency. The game features a cash shop very similar to other titles in the genre, basically almost identical to Warframe and very similar to Destiny. Make no mistake, the monetization is nowhere near as bad as Destiny. The game does not have the DLC model on top of a cash shop. However, unlike Warframe, the game does not have the ability for people to trade cash shop currency for in-game resources, which is a shame. At the end of the day, it will not change if the game is good or not, but I always appreciate when games offer the opportunity for people with less money and more time to access the cash shop. It is a shame that the first Descendant didn't follow in the footsteps of Warframe in this aspect. The last thing that we should mention is performance. I tested the game both on 280 Ti, which is a very cheap graphics card, and a 490. In both cases, the game ran flawlessly in all test phases, but you might have a worse setup and are worried about performance. I have noticed complaints from the community about performance in this test last year. However, after this latest test, a lot of people have reported that performance has been massively improved and they no longer had performance issues like they did in the past. In conclusion, I believe the first Descendant has addressed most, if not all, the feedback they received from these tests, which is a pleasure to see and very, very rare in the industry. While in the early stages of development it very much looked like a Warframe clone, it has now carved its own path and I believe it will provide a pretty unique experience in the genre. I am very much looking forward to the release and I cannot wait to sink countless hours into this game. That's it for this video. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching. Feel free to let me know if you see things differently. Like, subscribe and all that jazz, or don't. See you in the next one, gamers.